So the following video is of me and my online client Craig. Craig is a coach himself and owns a gym down in Kilkeel. We worked together for the last 6 months through online coaching to rehab his knee after surgery, while also managing all the other surgeries he's had over the years. Craig's goal was to get back to ironman training, so we took apart his strength and conditioning, integrated some rehab, and coached him through that over the last number of months. So hope you enjoy this conversation. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them down in the comments. I thoroughly enjoyed coaching Craig over these last 6 months. I learned a lot through this process. I hope he has too. And one thing I've started to realize is I love coaching coaches. It allows me to get into the nitty gritty, allows us to chat about our inputs, and you really do just get a better insight into programming and the reason why I pick certain exercises and how I integrate it into a plan. So hopefully you learned something from this. And yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, right. You leading this then?
I will. You first came to me in, forgotten already, 18th of November 2021.
Yeah.
At my old workplace. And what did you come for?
So
You were struggling with your squat depth.
Yeah, good memory. So I had obviously came from like more of a traditional like boxing martial arts background, and then with opening Hybrid, the gym, I started taking strength training a wee bit more serious. I had hired a coach myself, and then I just found my body, like my form looked okay, and with squats and Romanian deadlifts, but even with what looked like good form, I just was having unbearable pain, and then reached out to yourself for an initial assessment, and there's definitely a video of where I physically couldn't squat without my hips shifting drastically to the sides or getting any depth either.
Yeah, because you have like zero ankle movement and zero hip movement at the time. That was 4.5 years ago. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we just worked. I think it was ankle, knee, hip. You're having a wee bit of issues all over the place, and then you kind of had on-off flare-ups of back pain as well. Around the time as well, so we're kind of like our conversation with Craig, trying to work on lots of things at once. Feel free to pop them in the comments below or fire me a message on Instagram. And I think you did a few sessions with me there, so I think you did, see, pretty much every other week, and then came monthly.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that drew me to you, I don't know how I initially came across you. I'm sure it was social media, but I knew after just leaving on this initial assessment, well, assessment plus session, but I do remember saying to you, I was like, you didn't learn this stuff in uni, and you're just like, because it was just a very, very unconventional prescription of exercises, and it was stuff that I knew had worked, because with having so many different operations and injuries, I had obviously been to lots and lots of physios, but it was generally just the same prescription. And I was like, I had the belief and understanding at that point to know that it wasn't going to lead to the result I was looking for.
Yeah. Tell me about what operations you've had again.
So when I came to you, it was bilateral hip surgery for impingement and torn labrum. I've had surgery on an ankle. I chipped a bone in it, and then there's surgery to remove it. But then as a result, I lost a lot of dorsiflexion, and then I've had bilateral operations on my shoulders for AC joint impingement. But I feel like, obviously, I was quite reckless with my training and not listening to pain as a warning sign from my body, and I just kept training through pain. But I do feel had I came across you prior to getting some of them operations, I could have delayed the operations or maybe not had them at all, especially maybe the shoulder ones.
Yeah, the kind of, my view of operations is we try to delay them as long as possible and try the conservative approach and try to leave no stone unturned. And I think usually when people go see a physio for a shoulder or hip or knee, it's like they just focus on that one area and they forget about an elbow or shoulder blade or rib cage and forget that there's a whole system that can work together. And you know, it's rarely the shoulder's fault it needs surgery. It could be something else to blame.
Yeah.
Like,
go ahead, sorry.
It's almost a case of like, what's the victim and what's the culprit?
Yeah. No, well, I knew from working from you, it wasn't just isolating one specific thing, because generally most obviously not all physios, but most physio approaches are generally the same, and that's why I would always try and refer my clients up to you.
Big old track.
Yeah, that's the only downside where I was getting kickback. People were like, I don't want to drive an hour and a half to see a physio, but it is unfortunate then, because people expect to go to physio to get fixed, and sometimes they're maybe not getting that.
Yeah. To be fair, I have called down to Kilkeel on a number of occasions and tried to see as many of your clients as possible in one stint, and I think most of them got on pretty well after just 1 or 2 sessions. Like,
Not that I'm wrecking my clients, by the way, whenever I had to see so many, but it's just, see, especially where for my gym, I'm just training everyday people, and it's like people inevitably have some kind of movement dysfunction, and then it's when you expose your body to different types of movement, different exercise, that's when things are generally going to surface.
oh yeah, for sure. Like, everyone's going to get hurt at some stage or another. Like,
Yeah, well, I find for me, it's even just the more you expose yourself to, the more you can understand where you maybe just need to adapt or modify certain things. But I would say with everything of mine has been improved.
yeah, in terms of your capacity to handle, well, most things, to be fair. So that was like 4-ish years ago. You kind of went down the strength training route, and now you are dipping toes in the Ironman, running, triathlons, swimming.
Just to really test the body and all the surgeries.
Yeah. So you've gone from like one strength heavy stimulus, and now you're going full on endurance stimulus. So what's the transition
Yeah,
from those been like?
very, very challenging. Suppose the biggest one for me has been running. Like, I'm not saying running's bad for your body, but if you have issues or movement issues within your body where you maybe don't have access to certain movements, running is 100% going to flare it up. But then, as opposed to just being like, I'm not going to do this, it was like, I have to do everything in my power to make sure I can do it. So it's definitely been a journey, but it's like where I'm at the minute is obviously I'm still rebuilding running, but it's like the beauty about triathlon for me is it's like I just do less running and double down on the swimming and cycling.
Yeah.
But had I not come to you, well, signed up for the online coaching with you just before Christmas because I got another surgery that I didn't mention at the start. So I had knee surgery in October. So I basically didn't run all of last year. I only run on races as opposed to injure myself in training. I would just injure myself in race day. So I had knee surgery. I knew it was kind of scheduled to happen. And then I was like, I really just want to focus on the off season as to make my body as robust and durable as possible, because there is big demands in triathlon, and I'm sort of the person, I don't like to dip my toes in it. I like to
Go all in.
go all in, and it's like I don't want to just run a little bit. So it's like, what can I do to make sure I can run as much as possible and to be the best triathlete that I can be?
Yeah. I think especially with like a really long endurance event as well, it's like if you have an issue, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, because you're doing thousands and thousands of repetitions of like landings and cyclical actions of the legs and kicking for the swims. So I have found that like the more challenging clients are those who run loads and have super high volume, because you create one small change in their movement and suddenly you're exposing something else to tons of load that it's not used to. And it's like pulling levers constantly, trying to adjust things based on how they respond to a stimulus.
Yeah, because obviously I come back to you in December, and I think I started my return to run shortly after that.
Yeah.
And then it was like a new issue popped up, my hip one. Like I was getting into this approach being like, now the knee's sweet, which the knee is sweet, the knee's not having any issues with running, but then I've developed this new issue in the hip. But then, as you said, it was the knee was probably the victim as opposed to the culprit. And we have done a lot of work in around my hip, and it's probably moving better than ever. And I do feel a lot freer, even in terms of my low back and just movement.
Yeah.
Just building the base and the foundation. I think I felt that the hip was the victim and the knee was the culprit.
Yeah.
So you almost like stopped bending your knee to protect it, and so you shifted into your hips more and then overloaded the hips. So what we were working on over the last number of months was just trying to learn to rebend that knee a little bit more, load the ankle a lot harder, which again, we have a past ankle surgery in that same size. So it was like just constantly like finding other little tweaks and modifying and seeing like, right, how does this feel? Do that for a week. How do you respond to it? Did you do it consistently and did you work hard on it? And just trying to like keep you accountable as best we could.
Yeah, I think having a coach is very valuable, because I've obviously bought specific rehab programs from different people, like maybe just focusing on hip, knees, ankles, but then it's because I have the issues with ankle and hip, and I was trying to blend them both together, and then it was like almost exercise prescription overload.
Yeah.
And I could have been very relentless for a couple of weeks, but then because that's not all of my training, that's just to allow me to do the rest of my training, and then I just wasn't sticking at it long enough. So it was like having you as a soundboard, and then it's sometimes less is more, and it's like, as opposed to being a 10 out of 10 with my strength, rehab, mobility for a couple of weeks, it was better to be a 7 out of 10 for several months on end.
Yeah. That's probably the other challenge is when you're training like 8 to 12 hours for Ironman a week and you're spending that long in the endurance stuff, like you just don't have time to do the other stuff.
It's even mental bandwidth, like
yeah,
you need to be selective with what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Because I did 3 hours of cardio last week, like cycling to work, cycling home from work, and then a long run. And I was like, 3 hours of cardio in 1 week, like that was a lot. And then I heard guys in the sauna chat and they're like, oh yeah, like doing 12 hours this week and prep for Ironman. I was like, fuck, that's so much.
Yeah, I've actually a cycle book for this weekend. It's probably going to be 8 or 9 hours on the bike. Like,
get the pads on.
I've signed up for this too myself.
You're self-inflicted, like.
Yeah.
So how what did you find to be like the most valuable thing when you're getting coached? Like you did mention the accountability there and the structure of it, but was there anything else you found particularly useful?
I think even I'm generally, I could go a few weeks very good, but then it's not that fall away. It's like I kind of just need realigned. But then it was like, it was coming to the end of our first month and it was just a quick pit stop call, jump on a phone call. And I feel like that's enough for me to reignite the flame. And then it's like log in for another few weeks, and then say coming to the end of that month, it's like, right, just another wee pit stop call. I think whereas if I was doing that alone and you obviously don't have anyone to have that pit stop call with, it's just you go good for that wee while and then it's just you fall away, and then it's like you could pick that up again 2 months later, but you've lost a lot of that potential for where you can be getting working and actually progressing things, as opposed to just going for a wee while, falling off, and then come back to that starting place and going again.
Yeah, I do find with those calls that I do with most of my online clients is like you get a lot of information from a 30-minute chat.
Yeah,
you can kind of like ask questions that normally you wouldn't give feedback on through text or through like comments on the videos or whatever. So I have found that the clients who actually utilize that like get the most bang for buck out of it, like for sure. So now that you're finishing up with me, what's the plan now? What's the transition?
So I feel like obviously in the years I've been working with you, it's actually really, really influenced how I actually even coach now. Like it's not like when I was starting off coaching people, it was generally, it's almost just like a bodybuilder's plan, like a lot of programs is, but now it's like strength-based mobility into it. It's training that, or it's movements that people need exposed to.
Yeah.
Especially where we live, nobody's ever been as sedentary as they are now. So it's like, for me, I had my first race there 3 days ago. So now it's really just take away 1 2 strength sessions a week, depending on what's happening either end of the weekend race wise. But just kind of maintain strength wise, just keeping it there to keep the body being robust. But it's just all in with triathlon training and racing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have another Ironman booked for October, but means that I can have the full race season at home here, and then it would generally finish up September time. So that's just one to finish the season off, and then back to fix whatever I've broken.
Nice. We'll see you again. I'm sliding in my DMs in a few months.
Yeah.
Keep doing all the ISOs and all the ankle work and all, like.
Yeah.
Seems
It
really
is just
good.
staying consistent. If I can get 1 or 2 sessions a week taken over, I'll be happy. Like,
Yeah. And hopefully you can just keep applying like the frameworks from what you've done over the last number of months with me to see, are you hitting all the major patterns, and are you kind of like just touching on hips, knees, ankles
yeah,
in a way that is kind of like aligned with your goals. And it might not even just be a maintenance of strength. Like, you can still build strength when you're in season. It's just making sure you're using the appropriate dose. So
yeah.
keeping volume low but intensity high. So you're really training on your neuromuscular systems.
What are you saying? Like low rep ranges?
Yeah, lower, but like still like, you know, going close enough to failure, but it's not enough volume to like fatigue you too much. But
What
enough
the ISOs are like in terms of fatiguing the nervous system?
less so. So a general like fatigue model would be like axial load. So if you were to use like a leg extension machine but go really heavy, that's going to be less demanding on the nervous system than a squat, which is both training knee extensors.
Yeah.
Like a glute bridge hip thrust is a short range of motion. It's not getting the glute length as much. It's more about shortening the glutes. And it's also not very axial loaded. So you go pretty hard on hip thrusts, and that's not going to fatigue you too much, but it will also help train the posterior chain in a way that's not as demanding as, say, an RDL would be.
Yeah.
So that's like axial load, or just like total amount of load used as well. And then isometric would be the least demanding, concentric next demanding, eccentric most demanding. In a way, to be honest, like there's a few swaps there. So like concentric would probably be like potentially less nervous system demanding, but it depends how much effort you're putting into it. Like if you were to go like eccentric only squats and go really slow tempo on the eccentric, that would fry you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you did like a deadlift and you drop the bar at the top and just lift it up from the bottom, that's less fatiguing versus like lowering it under control.
Yeah.
So there's a few variables. You could think like range of motion. So like instead of doing full depth squats, you just do quarter reps, and now you're still training quads, but it's just a shorter range. But the range is more appropriate to running.
Would you advise doing something like that as opposed to full depth squat for runners?
Yeah, in season, yeah.
Is that just so they're learning to eccentrically load the quads? And
just getting more load through quads. It's just training a squat pattern in a way that's reducing the range of motion to manage fatigue. So it's just like a load management strategy.
so, but then you're only targeting quads then if you're going partial squat as opposed to getting any glute length?
Like, because you're still flexing the hips.
Yeah.
You also get a bit of ankle if you are more forwards through your center of mass.
Really just small dosing, as you said then, if it's in season.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see a lot of like high level runners will do like loads of heavy partial squats and heavy step ups because it's partial range of motion. A step up would be good, which we did for a little while because it's allowing the pelvis to travel on top of the foot, so therefore it's more hip. Where compared to a bilateral squat is typically you'll go heavier, but it's less hip because your pelvis is between feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just subtle like nuances to it that you kind of like can pull the levers.
Yeah, you got to make it more specific to what you're needing.
Yeah, at that time, yeah. And then when you're off season, it's like, right, well, is it worthwhile building up some more quad tissue and strength through full range of motion? Yeah, maybe. So because you're running less and cycling less, you can like up the dose of depth of squat and maybe load of squat to allow you to fatigue those systems more to then adapt them further.
A lot of things to consider, isn't there? Like,
yeah. When you zoom out, it's actually a very complex web.
that's why I like to outsource this work.
Yeah, simplify it.
Because you can't. I feel like I done this with triathlon last year where I got rid of my coach. I was like, I'll just coach myself, which I could. Do you know what I mean? But then it was like, I spend more time figuring it out, questioning myself, tweaking the plans than it would actually have cost me just to keep them on. But I feel like I learned through doing that. It's like, you know what?
100%.
It's actually better just to have somebody sort this out for you.
Yeah. I personally go through ebbs and flows of being coached. Like I haven't been coached in probably 3 years now, but before that I've had I think 3 different coaches who I respected, and like I learned from that experience, and now I'm at a stage where I'm just training for fun and don't have any specific goals. So it's just like I have a weekly framework, and I just like I'm right, well, I'm bored of this, or I've hit the ceiling of progression on this, or I've had this in for a while, so I just change it for something similar.
Yeah.
And I found a framework that works so well for me, and I'm seeing gains across the board. And that's just my online program. Like
You're kind of sort of dipping into being a runner now, you're not?
I am doing the Hillsborough half and end of
Are
July.
you?
Aye.
Lethal.
So I'm not going for a time or anything. I just want to do it. And I
You're
wanna
just trying to
have-
sound modest. You're not fooling me whatsoever.
I
Hey?
want to have an event that keeps me accountable to continue running at least once a week. So, and I like my running programming is like the simplest of all simple. It's like last week was 65 minutes, and that felt pretty good. And I actually ran a bit faster because I ran with a friend. So next time, depending on how I feel in the day, I'll have a range of 60 minutes to 70 minutes. And if I feel good, I'll run for 70. If I don't feel as good, I'll run for 60.
I quite like that. I've had that prescription as well. Like,
It's so
especially more with, say, just zone 2 or easy work. It's like, it's not distance. Go out and run for X amount of time.
and days you feel good, you'll naturally run a bit quicker.
Yeah.
And you maybe touch zone 3, which is fine because I'm running once a week. So I probably want to be in zone 3. Maybe flirt with zone 4 and hit a few hills.
Yeah. Run. If a 60-minute run, just run 30 minutes in one direction and change.
Yeah, pretty much. Like if I feel good for it, although I like the run loops for my sanity.
It's a mind, hey.
But I'd say, to be fair, like the running hasn't been. I actually prefer running slow, like, and just going out and it's like a form of meditation or having a chat with a mate, you know.
Yeah. I think that is, I enjoy with most of my training trying to make it a social thing. Like I will always try and score training up with somebody. Like today was my first swim with a friend in months, and it's been the best swimming forever. Obviously, we're not really able to chat whenever we're swimming. I just feel like having someone like he's a much better swimmer than me, so it was having him in front of me. I'm like, right, I don't want him to get away too much.
Yeah.
But there is just that social aspect of it, because it's like when you're in the trenches a wee bit, it's very easy to be like, that'll maybe do me, or I'll not push as hard in the set, or I'll take longer rest. Yeah. I live in
See, I'm kind of the opposite when it comes to weight training. Like, I don't like training with people at the minute.
No,
I trained with people for too long, and like, it was good, but then I would get too competitive in that scenario and push too hard. Well, I still do that when I'm by myself, like, but I like for the most part, like the solitary side of it, where I just get to go and just switch off, because I'm with people all day, every day, like one-to-one sessions.
Yeah.
Having another one-to-one, and if I train with people, usually I'm kind of coaching them through stuff.
I'm the same actually, hey. And it's like this hour used to just be for me where I could train, but what's nice, sometimes I'll go and even I could have music or not music, and it's just like it's just an hour of training and movement, and I've got no obligations or no coaching, no teaching.
Yeah. But something that I have been getting more of is I'm coaching more coaches now as well, which I love.
Yeah.
Because when they ask me a question, like, I'll get in the nitty gritty. I love geeking out on this stuff, like, so it's been pretty good.
You have to contain that with most of the physio clients.
Yeah, you just need to simplify it and reel it in a bit. Like, what's the easiest explanation that helps them understand it in a way that either reassures them or settles nerves or allows them to apply what we're trying to do better?
Yeah.
It'd probably be the main scope. So whereas with another coach, I can be like, yeah, like they want to learn from this experience, so I'm going to educate because I like education side of things. So
But I feel coaching or educating on a matter makes you more proficient at it as well.
100%. Like that's why social media has been so good for me, because I've like, before I post something, you're damn well sure I'm gonna look everything up about it so I don't look like an absolute tool.
I have to fact check this.
Yeah, pretty much. And then
But
you're like reaffirming. I mean, you probably will have biases and stuff, but you're reaffirming what you're doing, and then it helps like lock in what you know.
or you could just wing it out there, and if somebody disagrees with it, you'll get engagement off the back of it, and a friendly discussion, no doubt.
Friendly. I haven't heard of too many of those. Like maybe on Twitter or something, LinkedIn. So yeah. Have you any other thoughts on what could I do better for you?
You do.
Don't hold back here. I'm not going to take offense if you
I
like,
think for me personally, this is just a me thing, even though I understand it's like I got bored of the same thing for 4 weeks in a row.
yeah.
But I do understand, like, I know, like, say, even from a strength program, it's like you could be doing that for 16 or 20 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's like, that's just me, hey.
Yeah.
But
Which is fair. Like I think there are ways you can add or like gamify things maybe.
I think if you went, maybe for me, it would be same movement pattern, different thing. Not all every week, if you know what I mean, but
yeah.
every other week.
Yeah, and you really struggled with a lot of the isometric static stuff.
Nah, it's actually like that ankle overcoming one. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I just hated that split squat one. I think it's just because from a stability, it's not just like I'm holding a muscle and isometric, it's stability, balance, and I was just like, it was just really uncomfortable and not enjoyable. Like,
yeah. They're hard to wrap your head around when you're in it, but that's personally for me, like they're non-negotiable. Like when I do those, my knees feel fantastic.
But them overcoming ankle ones, I think because you're so stable, like I love it. Hey.
Yeah, they're also like anyone who I work with that does any form of running or any type of sport that requires you to run, we're doing those.
And then it's also, I suppose you can tell me the name of this, but there are two different types of isometrics. Like the ankle one, I'm applying the force, whereas the split squat reach is more
yielding
load being put through it.
Yeah, so there's actually three types of isometric, but the two we'll mainly use. One is overcoming, where you're pushing against an immovable object pretty much as hard as you can. And that's more concentric orientation, so the muscle tissues are shortening against the load. And then you have yielding isometric, where you're just resisting gravity. And so the tissues are eccentrically lengthened or lengthening, or just eccentrically orientated. And so you're just resisting yourself falling down. So usually the typical prescription is overcoming will go like higher intensity, lower time, more sets and reps. And then the yielding, typically we go for longer duration. Or we could load up the yielding with like dumbbells or barbells or whatever and just do like 5-10 second hold, switch sides, switch sides, switch sides, switch sides. So you're accumulating more time with more load.
So like a hamstring bridge static is a yielding then?
Yeah. Unless you're pushing up against the barbell that is too heavy for you to lift.
Yeah.
And then it becomes overcoming. The overcoming typically is
more enjoyable.
That gets it over and done with quicker. It's really good if someone has pain or an injury, like it's a voluntary push. So the recommendation is you only push as hard as, what doesn't aggravate symptoms. That's maybe like a maximum 2 or 3 out of 10 in the pain scale. And then hopefully you notice like you can push harder and harder and harder until eventually pain goes away. And then you're like, I can handle pushing as hard as I want.
Yeah.
And those tissues.
Them first times doing them overcoming ankle isos, my ankles felt class after.
Well, I do them like when I first started doing them, my ankles felt terrible.
No, but they felt bad, and then shortly after, I was like, they feel so free.
Yeah, 100%. Like when you get a maximal contraction, it's followed up by a maximal relaxation, essentially. So then it just like frees things up and relaxes things. I believe it's called post isometric relaxation, I think is the term. So it is a good way to open up joints and get things to move. So it's good prep. It's also low fatigue.
Yeah.
But high stimulus. So it's good bang for buck.
Yeah. No, I like being exposed to stuff like that. Because I've obviously seen people doing it before, but it's like understanding where it actually slots in.
Yeah. I do it in my warm-ups essentially. Or like I don't even warm up per se, but it's like prep. So I do like, say, a lower limb day, I'll do like move the spine, move the hips through a big range of motion, or do something that's a static contraction in the lower limb. And that kind of like gets me moving in loads. And then I'll do an overcome an ankle iso or a really heavy isometric somewhere. And then I'll dose in plyos and dynamic stuff. And then you do your top end strength, and then you do your accessory work. So usually it's like a prep circuit, hard iso if needed, plyos, dynamic, yield, strength, accessory. Yeah. Is a rough framework. I pretty much apply that to most of my clients these days who are like hybrid.
I feel most people are sort of swinging that way with training now.
I was saying like 3-4 years ago, like over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see more and more people in the gym doing plyometrics and running drills and all these things that are going to help their running.
Yeah, everyone's really taking into running or triathlons or high rocks, just where it's more dimensional.
Yeah, might be getting dragged into high rocks here.
Oh God, no.
I know. I'm scared.
I've resisted it so far. I think I'm afraid to because I would end up getting addicted or something.
No, a client of mine was like, oh, sure, here. Well, it might have came from me, possibly. I've kind of blanked it out because I'm scared. But she was like, you should do high rocks. And I was like, should we do one together? And as soon as I said it, I was like,
Mate, you can't bash rope flow if you're doing high rocks now.
man, I don't touch that.
Yeah, but you dabbled in one towards side.
Nah. I just my reasoning for it.
I love I record this for Calvin now.
I'll send it straight to him. It's like it's a movement meditation and practice. It's not really the only reason I mainly train is to create physical adaptation in my body to make myself more robust. And that allows me to express movement to a pretty decent standard. So I could probably go out and do anything if I tried. Also, then the side effect is that I feel great about myself, and it really helps me de-stress, and it's great for my mental health. But I chase physical adaptation, whereas the rope flow and things like that is more like a movement practice. But is it really going to create any other adaptations for me? Unlikely, because there's no specific stress from it other than coordination and flowing and movement.
Could have a crossover to your golf. Coordinate it.
If I was a sedentary office worker, maybe, because dosing in more movement is going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could argue with me on it, like, but
I am argumentative, but I'm gonna refrain today.
I'm not a confrontational person. Like,
this is my recording. I will confront you.
that's about the end of the call here. Have you any other like questions or anything? Or any other thoughts to close?
Maybe you don't need to do it now, but remember you said about shooting over like a framework.
Yes.
For me.
Yeah.
I think that would suit for now. It's like, I don't know if it's like, do you be like hip extension move or lengthen adductor? So I don't know what way you mean.
Yeah, so essentially it would just be kind of simple. It'd be like, what ranges of motion do you struggle with, right? Well, it's hip internal rotation and hip extension are the two big ones. So you want to expose yourself to those probably 2 days a week each. One could be like a hip flexor sit up. The other could be a split squat with those reaches up to the ceiling. There's your hip extension. Tick. Do those across 2 different sessions. Hip IR, single leg RDL, and like a Bulgarian split squat. There's 2 good hip IR. One's hip dominant, one's knee dominant.
And see the way they're both kind of ISOs for hip extension. Where would you load hip extension, i.e. through like a hip thrust then?
We could make them more dynamic. So for example, say you're doing a front foot elevated split squat on the same day as your single leg RDL. what you could do is lean into your back leg and try to bend your back knee. So now you're loading that rear quad a lot heavier, and you're taking the spine out of it.
Yeah.
And you're just doing like a front foot elevated split squat, but with a rear foot bias. That targets rec fem and lengthen position, which is like gold for cyclists who don't explore hip extension and you're in a flex position so much. So I would kind of tick a lot of those boxes for lower limb strength training, with integrating in some kind of like big ranges of motion to tick the box of, well, these are the ranges of motion you lack around the pelvis and the hips. And like, so, right, if we have hip flexor sit up and a rear foot bias, front foot elevated split squat, there's your hip extension work and your quad work. We just add in a Bulgarian split squat for more quads and glutes, and then we go single leg RDL for glutes and hamstrings, and there's your hinge pattern. Then for ankles, I probably want to have a heavy calf raise in there. Maybe
bilateral or unilateral for that?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
As long as you go hard and heavy on them. The goal would be to build up to like 5 to 8 rep max territory, so it's heavy.
Yeah.
And you could even go in like end range partial reps where you're getting like lengthened position partials, because that's where you're strongest and loading the Achilles the most, so you can overload that area pretty well. And then I would do some type of overcome an ankle iso, and that would probably be your strength training framework.
Yeah, I remember that.
Simple. And then if you can, like, if you're not running much and the knee's still a bit, or the hip's still a bit iffy with some impact stuff, then it's just really low amplitude plyos, 2 foot split stance, single leg hops, just super light. And that's probably the simplest way to attack it. Just keep those in. As soon as you get bored of the Bulgarian split squat, and if you feel like you've rinsed them, just swap it for a step up.
Yeah.
Probably the only other thing I want in there is a bridge. So hip thrust, single leg glute bridge, crab bridge, something like that.
Sounds good, my man.
Hopefully, I'll write it out for you and send it across.
Yeah, I'm not gonna remember that. Like,
I know, but I'm also recording this call, so I can send it to you. But I'll create the week framework for you and make it look pretty.
yeah,
And you can just stick at it for a while, and hopefully, I don't ever hear from you again.
no, I think
For any injuries.
I do feel like I've gotten a lot more wiser with listening to my body. But I feel like that's something that comes with age, and then it's like I almost feel in the gym as well. People are so ingrained with no pain, no gain, and I'm just like, no, like it's like we can tolerate a pain 3, 4 at the very maximum out of 10. It's like if it's more than that, you're not doing any good. You're actually making it worse. I'm like, listen to your body. I didn't listen to mine, and now I'm out thousands.
I've spent God knows how much on surgeries.
Oh, it's diabolical. Hey.
I think the big lesson is it should be consistency over intensity.
Yeah.
And then whenever the stars align and you just happen to feel great and life is good, push the intensity a little bit and see what happens. And then, but just know like to dial it back every now and then, whenever life throws you lemons and you're undersleeping or shit happens in life that it's more stressful. There's no need to overfill your stress bucket with more physical stress.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I'll give you a shout next time down in Kilkeel.
100%, my man.
For a 100-mile cycle.
No, we'll get away. I was going to say strength session, but you don't like training with people, so we'll have to go for a cycle.
I'll make an exception.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, mate.
Pleasure.
Thank
Look
you.
after yourself.
All the best. Bye.
Easy.
Okay, so that's our conversation with Craig rounded up. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below or fire me a message on Instagram. If you're interested in online coaching and want to learn more, then I'd be happy to help out.